welcome back to the All Things Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Vic Lopez, as always, and this is going to be the Thunder Nuggets preview. It's going to go as follows. I'm going to do the series at a glance, kind of going through why you should watch this series, why this is going to be a great series, hopefully, and then I'm going to talk about kind of the matchups, what I saw in the regular season, some small samples because of rotation issues, some guys missing games, guys getting hurt in games and getting taken out. And then I'm also going to go through kind of, comparing both teams like I try to usually do. And then I'm obviously going to make a pick at the end of this episode. So let's go with the series at a glance. The NBA and its fans could not have asked for a more exciting second round matchup between two teams. I mean, we're looking at proven versus unproven. The young OKC Thunder just having an incredible season, one of the best defenses, if not the greatest defense of all time, in some eyes, definitely in my eyes. I don't care if you're going to pull out data and tell me that efficiency rating from the defense of another team was better. Just watching this team, man, I have never seen such consistent defense and depth with defense. So yeah, I mean, that's really fun stuff. So it's guys that have won a championship, right? Proven players, Jokic, Jamal Murray, the core, the standard core with Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown and even Peyton Watson. Just a clash of two titans, really. There's the unique two-man race, MVP race between Jokic and Shea, right? Like that's the conversation that's just taken over the league all year long. Between a center and a guard, very interesting conversation. If you like star guard play, look no further than this series. Jamal Murray, Shea, J-Dub, even Russell Westbrook you can throw in there who plays like a star at times. If you like front court skilled players, there's Jokic, obviously. There's Isaiah Hartenstein, who's one of the better players at his position. Chet Holmgren, same thing you can say about him. Aaron Gordon, right? I mean, these are all guys that are elite at their position. So look no further than these guys right here. In terms of enjoying watching teams play together, right? Teamwork, ball movement, intelligence, execution, on offense at least, look no further than both of these teams. In terms of watching tough defense, elite defense, you got the Thunder right in front of you. And if you just love watching Jokic, the best player in the world, this is the series for you, right? So let's get to the matchup talk, because for the most part, through the regular season, guys miss games, like I mentioned earlier. Aaron Gordon only really played one game. He came out of another game, so pretty much only played one game. He played like 6 minutes in another game, and then he played one full game, which was all the way back in October. Both teams have won on the road against each other. Both teams have won at home. So obviously the series is even 2-2. Here's what we can expect to see just based on early matchup choices from these two teams when they did have their lineups for that short amount of time. It was Murray on Lou Dort, standard stuff. Christian Brown on Shea. Very interesting to see. Christian Brown plays very hard on that end. We saw what he was doing to James Harden, right? Making things difficult for him. You got Michael Porter Jr. on Chet. They like the size of Michael Porter Jr., his athleticism, his quickness for his size, and hopefully he can bother Chet enough, right? If you're thinking from the Denver Nuggets perspective. They have Aaron Gordon on Jalen Williams, which is a very interesting strategy from the Nuggets. Liking that muscle advantage, right? Like that size advantage. Gordon's very strong. He is going to be very handsy. He's going to make things difficult for Jalen Williams, right? Like that's going to be a really interesting thing to look out for. And then it's the standard Jokic on Hartenstein, which is going to be the same on the other end. For OKC, defensively speaking, I saw SGA on Michael Porter Jr. for the most part, as the kind of lesser usage rate guy that the Nuggets will give the ball to at times, but you could probably safely play Shea on him and hope that he won't be as involved, right? Because the majority of the usage is the Jokic and Jamal Murray pick and rolls, right? The handoffs. Christian Brown is very active off the ball. He likes to do his backdoor cuts and stuff like that. You got Lou Dort on Jamal Murray. That's standard stuff. That's going to be a fun watch. Jalen Williams on Christian Brown. Obviously, these guys are interchangeable, right? Like, they'll switch that, no problem, if they're involved in some screen action. There's Chet Holmgren on Gordon. That's going to be an interesting battle. Look out for Aaron Gordon doing some bully ball stuff to try to tire Chet out and hopefully sap him of some offensive production, right? Like, this may turn Chet into, hey man, I'm going to defend, rebound, make the right pass, maybe hit open shots here and there, but that could prove to be pretty physically taxing on Chet Holmgren. So I'll be looking out for that as well. And then Hartenstein on Jokic. Normal stuff. That's not going to change. There's a game where Jamal Murray didn't play. There's a game where Hartenstein didn't play. So it's like really mix and matchy. It gets a little tricky. So I try to just keep track of, okay, when these two updated lineups were out there, how were the matchups looking like? And that's basically what it was in a nutshell. I want to talk about concerns for both of these teams, right? Looking at it from both of their perspectives. Let's start with OKC's concerns. Number one is Jokic, right? Like, that's everyone's concern that's facing the Denver Nuggets. So I'll just leave it at that. Aaron Gordon with the bully ball stuff, right? He could potentially look to get Chet into some foul trouble, right? Make guys tired. He could make things tough for Jalen Williams. That's something that could possibly happen. Also, Aaron Gordon shot the ball really well this season from three. So if that continues to be a thing, that could change some tactics for the Thunder. Are we still going to close out on Aaron Gordon? Are we just going to, live and die with him shooting open threes and close out late and hope that he misses? That was something that killed them when they didn't have Hartenstein the year before, and they were kind of playing that game with PJ Washington on the Mavs and also Derrick Jones Jr. Guys get hot sometimes. When guys know they're going to be left open, they are mentally prepared to just knock down shots, right? So that's something that is very underrated to mention. Here's one that's popular, right? One of the concerns for the Thunder, and it's like something that's been going around. They're 10-8 in clutch games, right? Close games. So, they could run into that what happened to Duke type of thing, like in the NCAA tournament, where it's like, well, these guys have been blowing out teams all year, and what's going to happen when the game's close, right? When it's like 2-point game, 3-point game, and they haven't seen many of those, right? Like, how are they going to react to that? So that's a fair question to ask about the Thunder. Another fair question to ask about the Thunder is, are they ready to prove that they can get it done, right? Like, experience is the word I had written down for them. This is a concern for the Thunder, right? Like, every team has had to beat those allegations, right? Like, at some point in a player's career, at some point in a team's run, right, where they have a great regular season, look no further than the Cavaliers, right? A team that's had a couple of now really good regular seasons, and the question on them is, well, are they going to get it done in the postseason, right? So that's something that it's a cloud that follows the Thunder, and a fair one if you want to question this team. And also the last bullet point, for the most part, in a simplistic way, is this is not the Memphis Grizzlies and that whole dysfunctional franchise situation, right? Where the coach gets fired, although, the Nuggets also fired their coach. That's a funny coincidence, but, they have Coach Jokic. I think they'll be fine. Shout out to David Adelman, though. And look, like, this Nuggets team is a proven Nuggets team, right? Like, this, when I say it's not the Grizzlies, I mean, obviously, right? They have the Nuggets have the best player in the world. They have the 4 or 5 core group of guys that have won a championship. They know their formula. They know how to win games, and they've been here before. So that's obviously, it speaks to the, experience part of it. Now, if I'm looking at Denver's concerns about the OKC Thunder, it's the main one that everyone talks about. It's the non-Jokic minutes. What is this team going to do in those short bursts where they don't have their best player and guy that makes everything happen, right? On offense. That's going to be the real big thing that the Thunder could hang their hat on. The Thunder being one of the deepest, if not the deepest team in the NBA. And this is a team that does not have hiccups in terms of players that they can put out there while guys are resting. Jokic comes out of this game, and even if it's just for 5 minutes or 8 minutes or whatever it is, like the totality of a game, that's the time that could kill the Nuggets down the stretch. That OKC could make a run during that time. And offense is really questionable without Jokic. We know about the offensive rating without him. It's like in the 80s without Jokic against the Thunder in the regular season, and it's just really bad in general in the regular season. So, that's kind of went along with that one, but that is a huge concern, and that's how the Thunder could really outscale the Nuggets because of that depth alone. Defense for the Nuggets, like, they show moments where they can definitely put together some defensive like some good stops on that end, but they're going to have to do it consistently. Like, the Clippers, yes, they have those isolations with Kawhi. They have the pick and rolls with Zubats and James Harden. They were able to plug there, right? Chris Dunn, leave him open. Sometimes he makes them. Most of the times he won't. And it's like, there's a lot of holes with the Clippers. You're thinking about, James Harden himself, a guy who, once again, just yikes when you need him most. And, you got Bogdanovich, right? A guy that some people were like, wow, he's on this team too. And it's like, yeah, but, didn't really play well. Ben Simmons on that team as well, but it's like 5 minutes of Ben Simmons here and there. And it's, it's not a Cason Wallace. It's not an Alex Caruso. It's not Isaiah Joe shooting the lights out coming off the bench, and on and on and on. Like, even Jalen Williams, the center, who no one ever talks about in this entire thing, who is a very serviceable big man, who has improved shooting the three ball, who knows how to pass the ball, who knows his role and how to execute with this team whenever he's needed. Do not sleep on Jalen Williams, the center. And look, man, they're not going to have home court advantage. Like, that's another part that I think matters. Some people think that that's an overrated thing, but it matters, Another thing they can be concerned about is they just came out of a 7-game series. This is a team with a lot of mileage. You got the Jamal Murray question with the health stuff. Jokic he's in world-class shape. In terms of a guy that can just play and play and play and look tired and still dominate, right? So you're not going to really ask much about Jokic, but Aaron Gordon, he's had to deal with some injuries throughout the season. It's just a pretty, especially the way that they win games with such a short rotation because they don't trust their bench. It's a lot. They could be really gassed coming into this series, playing against the best defense in the league. This is a crazy, energetic team with the Thunder. Like, this is something that should definitely put fear in a Denver Nuggets fan's heart. There's less rest in the second round. It's like a game every other day. That's something that it's tied into that coming out of a 7-game series thing, right? Like, that's something that Nuggets fans should also be concerned about. Turnovers is another one. Like, are these guys going to continue to not take care of the ball in the postseason? Because you can't afford to do that against the Thunder. These guys I think they're number 1 in points off of turnovers. And we know all the stuff they do on defense. These guys are absolute dogs for those loose balls, rebounds, stripping, deflections. Just, they do it all. And like I said, those non-Jokic minutes where things get a little crazy, or Russell Westbrook gets a little reckless, or they kind of get a little loosey-goosey with the ball. Michael Porter Jr., for example, when he does dumb things here and there, it could really get ugly for the Denver Nuggets if they don't take care of the ball against this team. OKC could potentially not have a good offensive game and hang their hat on defense and win a series. They could totally do that. And then lastly, similar to the Thunder, this is not the Clippers, right? Like, and I say that with all due respect because I was one of the few people saying the Clippers are going to surprise us this season. They're going to be better than people think. So all due respect to the Clippers and Jeff Van Gundy and Ty Lue and, Kawhi Leonard putting together somewhat of a healthy season and being able to play the postseason. And shout out to James Harden for putting that team on his back along with Norm Powell and Zubats and just a lot of guys kind of like, reviving their careers in a way. But this is not the Clippers. This is it's one of the most elite offenses. It's the best defense, like I've said a million times. And you're facing against an MVP candidate, the only guy in front of Jokic in terms of who could possibly actually win the award. And this team is very hungry. The Thunder are just full of energy. They're well rested because they just destroyed the Memphis Grizzlies. Sometimes it just comes down to margin of error. And when you have a smaller window for being able to make those mistakes, that could be what determines a series for a team. Like, the Thunder could go out there and not shoot well, but they could turn defense into offense, right? They could get really nasty on just one end of the floor and throw you under just put you in the mud, drag you through the mud, make you play an ugly game, and come out on top, right? They're going to commit a lot of fouls because they're very aggressive, and they're going to challenge the refs in an environment where things get more physical, right? And you just got out of playing against one of the best defenses in the NBA. Now you got to go back and do it again to a higher level against an even better team, like miles, just a team that's just way better than the last team you just played. And then you got to do it after, playing such a long series with minimal rest in between, and you don't have the depth to also kind of relieve you a little bit. Like, if you want to pick the Nuggets because you just don't want to bet against Nikola Jokic and the core that has done it, that's a totally fair assessment and stance to take when you're trying to pick who you think is going to come out of this series. You could also look the other way and say, hey, man, the Thunder, they've been the best team all year long, especially in their conference. And the defense is incredible. The offense is also just excellent, right? In terms of all the way through their whole rotations, their second unit, when they mix it in, when they decide to swap everyone out, it's just the coaching, right? Like, that also matters. And I totally get it. I'm going to go with the Thunder in 6. I don't think I ever even thought of a possibility where the Nuggets come out. I think that, like, as long as I've thought this series over, I just continue to come back to the reasoning, and that's a team that could make more mistakes and win games, which is the Thunder. I don't think the Nuggets have a lot of room for error when it comes to this series specifically. Like, the Thunder are they're all over it. Defensively, they will pick you apart if you are not clean, if your possessions are sloppy, if you're a little lackadaisical, if you're not mentally prepared, if you're not physically prepared, if you're just tired, if you're just beat up, they are not going to stop. They're not going to stop coming at you. Wave after wave of players, rotation, just, the execution. They hang their hat on the side of the floor that travels to every single game, and that's defense. And they back it up with elite offense as well. And look no further than just one of the greatest offensive seasons we've seen from a guard in a pretty long time in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So I can't wait to watch this series. I don't think I've ever looked forward to a Monday as much as I am today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I will catch you guys on the next one.